That's like how it really works. Yeah. That a couple months ago, 12 months ago, the year. Well, I would not be much ahead. I did get a
Yeah, call this meeting to order.
player's card, so I could
Have a roll call, please.
a list of what's here. So I can yeah, you can deduct losses.
Yes. Huh? Oh, like reboot?
Yeah, because I think we left.
Do I have to shut it down?
See Mary Roberts is on
You're
Zoom.
not seeing me.
We have 29 present and 1 absent.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay.
I thought I was doing so well.
Can we please rise for pledge of allegiance? Supervisor Zastra, would you lead us tonight?
Hear you now.
Supervisor Zastra, will you lead us, please?
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take a moment, just contemplate issues of the evening. Thank you. Let's please be seated. We're in compliance with the open meeting law?
We're in compliance, Mr. Chair.
Yes, no? No.
It's on, but it's not up very loud.
Yeah, that's why I feel like an echo back in here.
Yeah, right.
I'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none,
Can you hear your online people?
anybody online opposed to the agenda? Moving, any changes? Can you hear me online? That's better. That's better. Thank you. Must just be one bad one here. Okay. I want to entertain, or, excuse me. Bernard, a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, but our other members may not know that these minutes were not prepared far enough in advance for the executive committee to consider them at our last meeting. So at this time, I would like to ask our county clerk to make 3 changes to the minutes. They're all on page 3, and they regard the amendments that I proposed to the joint development agreement. I'd like to ask that the roll call vote tallies be shown for each of those amendments, and that a brief description summarizing the sense of the amendments be added. For example, Renard moved to amend the joint development agreement with proposed amendment number 1 regarding school traffic safety at the intersection of Highway 16 and North Road. This is in keeping with the way we usually do our minutes. As you can see on the very next page 4, when Supervisor Jones made an amendment, it's summarized there and the entire roll call vote tally is shown. And I know there was a lot of stuff going on at that meeting, so I think possibly it was just inadvertently omitted from these minutes. So with those changes, I will move approval of the amendments of our May 11th meeting.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, sorry.
Does it just say seconded and passed?
Yes,
Then there was not a roll call vote.
there were roll call votes on every one of those motions. I have them.
We'll double check.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that there were roll call votes all evening after the previous meeting when we had
Zoom problems,
we
yeah.
had Zoom problems. Yeah, would you please? Thank you. So, yeah, I will move approval of the minutes with those additions.
And was there a second? A second? Any further discussion, changes, additions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Notice of planning and zoning public hearing, June 17th, 2021.
Also the treasurer's report.
And the treasurer's report. Clerk, are you going to give these or not? Okay. There's a notice of hearing for planning and zoning committee on June 17th, 2021 at 7 p.m. All right. First order of business. You know when? You come to the front.
Hello, everyone, and happy June Dairy Month. My name is Janelle Wenzel, and I am the 2021 Jefferson County Fairest of the Fair. I am 21 years old, the daughter of Jim and Holly Wenzel, and I am from Sullivan. In 2018, I graduated from Jefferson High School and am currently a rising senior at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I am studying human development and family studies, as well as earning a certificate in global health. I hope to one day become a clinical nurse specialist and work in public health in our community of Jefferson County. Growing up, I participated in the Sullivan Stars 4-H Club, in which I was able to show at the Jefferson County Fair projects such as pigs, sheep, dogs, cultural arts, foods and nutrition, and veterinary sciences. In preparing for the fair, I was able, or preparing for the fair sparked my interest and strengthened my interest in agriculture. At the fair, I was exposed to a great community of other youth who also showed livestock with me. This was a community of encouragement, love for one's neighbor, and support. Because of this great community, I wanted to run for Fairest of the Fair in order to advocate and support these members as well as future members, hopefully, for that will also show at the fair. I also chose to run for Fairest of the Fair so that I could help to promote the fair and to promote agriculture in our county. As Fairest of the Fair, I am able to do just that, as well as I am given opportunities to strengthen my public speaking skills and to network with members of our community. In January of 2022, I will compete in the Wisconsin State Fairest of the Fairs competition, and I am honored to be able to represent Jefferson County. I thank you all for your support of me, of the fair, and of the agriculture of our county. I hope to all see you in just 29 short days at the Jefferson County Fair, July 7th through the 11th. I thank you guys also for this opportunity. Thank you.
You can't run away yet. Any questions for her? Seeing none, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck. Have a great fair. Also under special order of business is a Fort Healthcare presentation. Lisa Jensen, parents, please.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Jensen. I am the Vice President of Nursing Services at Fort Healthcare. I am honored and delighted to be here tonight to honor some of our prestigious county health departments and just to honor all their efforts that we've had. Some of the things that I've noticed and have been experienced since March of, oh geez, Ben, when did we open up EOC? 2020, March 17th. Not that we would forget that date, but it's been a long haul. And thankfully, we've had good leaders like Ben and Gail Scott, Carol Quest of Watertown Health Department, and great partnership. We have worked through some really hard times, and we just really wanted to take an opportunity to honor these healthcare heroes here in our own county. So I'm just going to see if my partners want to say a little words before we introduce our honorees.
Hi, my name is Chris Barron. I'm the Executive Director of Population Health and Clinical Services. I'll echo what Lisa said about our partners at the county. They've been wonderful to work with. We'd like to recognize and appreciate them for all their hard work over the last over 450 days of pandemic response. It's been remarkable work. It's been hard work. They continue to come back day after day after day, and we commend that. Thank you.
Not as tall as Chris, obviously. Sam Lamuro. I actually work infection prevention for Fort Healthcare and have gotten to work with Jefferson County since the start of my career. It has been a great honor to work with them, not only Jefferson County Public Health, but the emergency management portion of it as well with Donna Hogum. I'm glad that I've gotten to share their experiences with Fort Healthcare. I'm just sorry it took a pandemic for them to shine this well. And I look forward to working with you guys more in the future, but no more pandemics, please.
We will welcome the opportunity for Gail Scott to come up and receive her plaque. The plaque is presented to Gail for thank you for being a healthcare hero, recognition of your ongoing commitment and support to everyone within our communities. Thank you, Gail, for your endless work and sleepless nights. There you go. One of Gail's many right-hand people is Elizabeth Chilson. Elizabeth has also guided this efforts, and I would say that she has really also shined within the vaccine clinic of Jefferson County, and just really being a real huge support for our partnership at Fort Healthcare. So this is again for Elizabeth, and Gail will take that. Donna Hogum. Donna, our emergency preparedness guru, and she finds supplies for us where you would never believe she finds supplies. Donna, in honor of your efforts, thank you for being a healthcare hero, recognition of your ongoing commitment, and support to everyone within our communities. We really appreciate it. Thank you. We had a lost box of gloves. We had a lost box of gloves, like a big box of gloves. We're not talking a little box of gloves, but we couldn't find them. And Donna says, I know I sent them over there. And lo and behold, they were somewhere. I don't even remember where we found them, but somebody came up with them. But Donna definitely finds things where nobody else can. So we really appreciate her efforts. Abby Keene works as assistant manager of Watertown Health Department. Her and Carol Quest are also healthcare heroes for us. Our partnership has grown with them as well. We really appreciate each and everything that you've done. Again, thank you for being a healthcare hero, recognition of your ongoing commitment, and support to everyone within our community. Thank you to you and Carol. Carol is in Yosemite. So she couldn't be with us tonight. She couldn't Zoom in, but we appreciate both of their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you for your help. And item C under special order of business, comprehensive annual financial report and audit report, Mark DeVries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is my pleasure to introduce to you tonight our partner from our audit firm of Clifton Larson Allen. His name is Jake Linnell, and he is going to go over the results of our audit this year with you. So as I cue this up, here we go.
Well, those were two tough acts to follow, so I'll try not to bring the room down too much with audit talk. But really, we just have a very short update for you at a high level of the results of the independent audit, so the third-party audit of the financial activities for Jefferson County. So just very briefly, I just wanted to touch base a little bit on the organization that you're working with to do this. This is, can you guys hear me okay? Just a sound check? Okay. So CLA is an organization that is a national firm that specializes in audits of county governments. And so that's really our bread and butter and what we do day in and day out, not only as me personally, but across our offices. We work in 18 offices in Wisconsin. We currently work with about half of the counties in Wisconsin to perform those financial audits. So the people that are on site performing the work, we understand county business, we understand what we should expect to see related to those financial results, and can provide some of that feedback back and forth with your management team as we perform that work. Just a little bit on the service team that you individually have, myself, as well as Mike Anderson, the manager on the engagement, both specializing in working with county governments across the state. Our role is really in that audit capacity, so performing that independent review of the financial information. Our counterparts across the offices also specialize in government work, but really focus on more other professional services. So things that would support you in IT, security, search and placement, those types of things, other types of professional services. So just want you to be aware that the organization that you're working with works with county governments day in and day out, and that's really the perspective we're coming from as we perform our audit work. So with that, I thought I would just jump to the audit results. And actually, I think there's a page missing from here, but I've got it. Steel trap. I've got it memorized. The first piece of that is the financial statement audit opinion. So that's really the only piece of information that is included within your financial statements that's ours as your auditors. And that opinion is called an unmodified opinion, or what's commonly referred to as a clean opinion. So that's the highest level of assurance we can provide you as auditors that those financial statements prepared by your management team really represent the financial activities of Jefferson County for that year. So that's a good thing. That's a positive thing. As we move through our audit process, we're designing our audit to test those balances and really ensure that the information is supported with that supporting documentation to support those balances. So as we perform that audit, we also report to you any types of matters in accordance with how we performed that work. So one of those items is that we performed the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. That's the kind of the governing rules for how to perform the audit to ensure that we've done everything we need to do to be able to provide you that opinion. Part of our work also focuses on accounting policies. So if you had any new accounting policies or if there are any new standards that were required to be included in the financials, we would report on those and see that you had applied those appropriately. There for 2020, there were no new accounting policies that were required to be implemented. So very consistent with what you have done in the past. Also, as part of that process, we look at the estimates that are involved in preparing all this financial information. And what we're doing there is really making sure that anything that anything that you're providing those estimates of is consistent with what we'd expect to see in industry standards. It's consistent with what we're seeing across other municipal clients, other Wisconsin counties, and just consistent with what your experience has been. So as we perform that work, if we did have any recommendations, we'd make those known to you. But happy to report we did not have any changes in the methodologies or the estimates that you have involved in preparing those financials. If there's anything of significant sensitivity or something where there wasn't real good guidance out there for how to report this information, we'd make that known to you. We'd talk through that, but no items of that nature. No difficulties encountered performing the audit. Honestly, if I was first talking about those now, that would be a little bit too late in terms of a good audit process. So the idea behind an audit is to minimize those types of disruptions and to minimize surprises, if you will. No matters to report there. And then if you have corrected misstatements or uncorrected misstatements, we do include those in the financial statements. So if, as we are making any proposed adjustments to the information that you have, if they're significant, we include those in the letters that we report out related to our work as well. In addition, if we did have anything where there was a significant adjustment, we'd have a recommendation related to how you can incorporate that into your processes and bring that into your own reporting process. But happy to report no items like that where we're making a significant adjustment to your financial statements and then asking you to modify your procedures. We did not have any of those types of matters. Again, no disagreements with management, so very consistent with just a very cooperative group to work with as we work with your management team. And we were performing this audit for the second time as your auditors. This is our second year as auditors together, and a second year as a remote audit, in fact. And so ironed out a lot of the nuances of that the first go around, but continue to build on the efficiencies of that process. And really, it is great to get back together and be able to see one another again, but also keep some of the efficiencies that we learned along the way related to some of the remote work we can do. So the bulk of the information in the letter is actually management accepting responsibility for the financial statements, telling us as the auditors that those statements that appropriately reflect the financial activities are complete to their knowledge as well. So if there were any other consultations with other accountants where we needed to get that second opinion over how to treat something, we'd talk about those here, but again, no matters to report there. So a lot of what comes out of accountants' reports are, if it's no news, it's good news. And that's very much the case here as I move through all of these items of nothing to report. And that's really a very high level of the audit results in the process. But I think the couple of key takeaways relate to the fact that we did not have audit adjustments or corrected misstatements, as we call them. The financials that you're receiving throughout the year, those are consistent with then what, as a third party, we're reviewing and signing off on as well in terms of testing to supporting documentation. So that's a solid signal to the integrity of the financials you're receiving throughout the year. And just want to thank the county and the management team for the support to get through the audit process. Everything we're asking for is on top of the normal day job. So appreciate them making us a priority and helping us get through the audit process and continue to bring things to close in a timely manner. Your financial statements are due they're actually due about a month from now to the GFOA, and so you're well ahead of that timetable, and we'll continue to submit for that award process as a result of that. So happy to answer any questions that you have, but that's really the prepared remarks I had.
Any questions for our auditor? Any questions? Thank you very much. Oh, Mr. Waymark.
So number one for public understanding is the audit is available on our website. Tammy did send that link out today. It is on our website. So if folks are interested in looking at the results of the audit, especially the public, the full audit is available on our website. We're available to answer questions as need be. And the other thing, I just want to compliment the staff that worked with Jake and his team, especially Mark and his team, but also all our other fiscal staffs, including Brian over at Human Services, Ryan over at Highway Shop, Sandy in Health Department, etc. Right? This, as Jake says, this is not it's extra on top of what they usually do in terms of trying to get things done. The other caveat or interesting thing this last year is a little thing called the CARES Act, and it was just trying to work through with them, making sure that we properly dealt with the dollars as we were allocated, and we made it through, and we appreciate the extra due diligence that went with it. So I just want to make sure you all are aware and congratulate the staff that helped Jake through this process too.
No questions. Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment? This will be public comment concerning agenda items tonight. Mr. Kennard. You're alone on the list. You got a half an hour.
Yeah. Few minutes. I'm speaking on item number 11, which is our space needs study and continuing on down that path. Some things I think that weren't considered that probably should be considered. I did hand out a couple sheets of paper. The first double-sided sheet came from the August 2020 Wisconsin Counties Association publication we all get every month. And then the sheet in the back that, I think it's sheet number, page 11, is from the Potter Lawson planning report that is dated August 31, 2020. And what I wanted to cover there was we just had the COVID thing, and are things going to change based on what we've been through and what we've endured, I guess, over the last year and a half or whatever with the COVID. And sometimes these building codes and stuff don't, what should we say, they don't get revised as quickly as we'd like. It might be years down the road before some of this stuff shakes out and things begin to change. So the article was from John Kane with Venture Architects, which John Kane and Venture Architects actually did our last space needs study before this one. So they've been doing the same type of thing, and so I kind of take his words, and he's talking about what are we working from home? Is some of that gonna change how we work? Social distancing, separation, cleaning. He goes into office designs, courtroom designs, jail designs, and are we going to rethink how we treat offenders and which people have to be in jail, which people maybe don't have to be in jail, especially when you're talking, is this our last pandemic? I wish it was, but I can't tell you that it's going to be. This stuff could go on. And if you went back, I think it was 2005, was it, Ben, the last space needs study? If we went back to that document and pulled it out, what percentage of it actually came true? I guess was one of the things, was it 90% that didn't happen? I mean, if we followed that space needs study, we would have a 3-story office building off the parking lot here. That's what that was recommending at that time. Another thing from the Potter Lawson report I wanted to bring out and have you look at is this, I think it's page 11. It goes over the staffing needs. Currently, it says in the courthouse we have 308 people. They're calling for 2025 to have 358 people. That's an increase of 50 people, 50 positions in the next 5 years. I don't know how we're going to do that with our budgets and lack of funding, I guess, unless the government changes the way they fund us. And I don't know how we're going to add 50 positions. And then by 2030, they're talking 362, which would be another 4 people. So the 4 people maybe in 5 years could happen, but I doubt if the 50 is gonna. And the plan they've designed is gonna, they designed for a 20-year period or more. They don't design for just what you need today. When you do these things, you want to look forward a little bit, and you do that by looking in the crystal ball, plus looking in the rearview mirror and as technology changes and the world changes, I don't know how accurate that is. I guess that's just what I wanted to add now rather than bring it all up during number 11. So, thank you.
Thank you. Takes us to annual reports, Corporation Council, J. Blair Ward.
So good evening. I'm going to start off by introducing my office. If you look at the top of my report, you'll see a number of names. I think it might come as a surprise to many of you that my office consists of 5 attorneys and 1 county board paralegal. We have myself as a corporation counsel. I was appointed by the county administrator and confirmed by the county board. That's statutorily required. That's the process. Then you have Yelena Zarwell, who's my principal assistant, been with my office for about 6 years. And if you were here for orientation, you would have heard her presentation on public records. The newest addition to our office is Whitney. You also would have heard her present on open meetings at orientation tonight as well. Serena, you see every county board meeting and at a few committee meetings. She's to my right. She's our paralegal and county board reporter. And the other 2 attorneys, Tom Antheline and Kendall Wick, are dedicated primarily to child support enforcement. And I'll talk a little bit about their duties in a few minutes. My job is the chief legal advisor to Jefferson County. Now, I don't just advise our county administrator or department heads. I'm available to every member of the county board. I'm your attorney as well, so I'll use this as an opportunity to let the county board know if they do have a legal question, feel free to contact me. Oftentimes people stop in, they find themselves in the courthouse at a meeting, and they think, well, I have a legal question. Maybe I'll just stop by Blair's office and see if he has a minute to talk. That's fine. I always keep my doors open. Sometimes I'll get emails, sometimes I'll get phone calls. Don't hesitate to contact me if you have any type of question regarding county operations or county business. So some of my specific job duties are the duties of my office. I attend all meetings at the county board. That's why you see me here every month at a county board meeting. That's right in the county board rules that I attend these meetings, answer any questions. I serve as parliamentarian for the county board in case there's any questions on how to conduct business. Draft resolutions and ordinances. The day before and the day of the county board packet being put in the mail are pretty busy days for my office. Make sure that the resolutions are drafted in proper form to be presented to the county board for action. Publication of the county board minutes. Serena is primarily responsible for that. If Ben is gone, I'm able to serve as assistant county administrator to deal with any issues that need to be dealt with in his absence. Represent the interests of the public in mental health commitments and children in need of protection and services, guardianships. Those are all related to human services job functions, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Child support office. The 2 attorneys I mentioned earlier, Tom Antheline and Kendall Wick, their job is making sure that there's the name of a father on a birth certificate. If a child is born without a father being named, they'll go to court, get a court order. They'll order genetic tests. Genetic tests will be taken of the family and determine with a 99.9% probability whether or not a child is the child of a particular father. And oftentimes that does require court action to implement. Also, if there's a separated family, if the father, for example, isn't living with the mother and child, instead of having the family receive only state benefits, the state said, well, let's impose a child support order. So the court will order the father to pay child support if the father's not living with the family. That also requires court action. And all this is provided to the family on through the county. It doesn't cost the family anything to have a child support order imposed. And if the person who's ordered to pay doesn't pay, they can be back in court in front of a judge. The judge can actually sentence them to jail for contempt of court for not paying their child support orders. And that's all part of what the Child Support Agency does. They do a lot more than that, but I'm focusing primarily on what the legal counsel does for the Child Support Agency. Also, part of my duties or the duties of my office, one point of contact if there is a disaster in Jefferson County, my office has been designated as public information officer. I've been to training on public information, speaking to the media, drafting press releases. I wouldn't be the only one, but I'm an option for the county if there is a need to communicate with the public in the event of a disaster. prepare bid requirements, make sure any bids that are going out comply with our county purchasing policy and state law, provide guidance to planning and zoning and board of adjustment. Had a quite complicated case not too long ago dealing with the board of adjustment. Took a lot of time from my office, but that was part of what we do, represent the zoning department on various issues as needed. Now, near the bottom of the first page, it's a 2020 office summary. A lot of what I do, I can't really quantify, but the things that I can quantify, I have done so in my report. I'm going to start with the mental health commitments. That's something that our office works quite frequently with the Human Services Department. A mental health commitment occurs when a member of the community acts in a way that causes others to believe that that person may have a mental health crisis. Law enforcement may be called, human services may be called to find out what the issue is with that person. And if it's believed that person has a mental health crisis that's in immediate need of treatment, that person is given an opportunity to seek voluntary treatment immediately. But if they don't, then they're taken involuntarily to a locked inpatient psychiatric facility, either by law enforcement or human services. Now, when someone's detained against their will, state law says that they have to go in front of a judge within 72 hours. Now, and that's where my office comes in. Elena handles most of those cases. Now, we had 126 such cases in 2020, which was an increase of 12 from 2019. And within that period of getting notice that someone needs to go in front of a judge, that requires our office to contact doctors to serve as witnesses, contact law enforcement officers to serve as witnesses, social workers to serve as witnesses, coordinate with the courts, get an attorney for the person who was committed. They have a right to legal counsel at no charge to themselves. And we're all involved with that. So it's very busy. It basically requires us to drop everything and make sure that we meet the statutory timelines, because if we don't have a case. That person goes. And if that person needs mental health treatment, we have an obligation to make sure that we meet the statutorily required timeline so that person can get the treatment that they need. Sort of related to that, if they are committed, they are committed for 6 months. If after 6 months the doctors think that they should still be under commitment, then we can seek another court order extending it for a year. Still requires witnesses, getting a date on the court calendar, and presenting evidence and presenting a case. We had 60 of those in 2020. And appeals, there were 2 individuals who were committed, and they felt that they should, they may have success at the Court of Appeals. So they appealed the decision of the Jefferson County courts, finding them in need of commitment. Well, both of them were not successful at the Court of Appeals. They lost, and the Court of Appeals upheld the county decision, the circuit court's ordering commitment. And sometimes if they're under commitment, most of the time when they're under commitment, they're released from an inpatient facility. They're still under commitment, but they're under the supervision of human services as long as they follow the doctor's orders. And the bullet point second to the bottom, return to an inpatient facility, that simply references those who were allowed to return home, for example, but didn't follow the doctor's orders and then had to be brought back to an inpatient facility. Also requires a court proceeding and preparation by our office, calling witnesses and everything that would go along with the court proceeding. And the last bullet point there deals with guardianships and protective placements, deals primarily with people who can't make decisions for themselves. They may not necessarily have a mental illness. A lot of times it deals with people who have infirmities of aging and they can't make their own decisions anymore. And Human Services will come to us and ask us to commence a petition for a guardianship, to have someone legally able to make decisions for them. And that's what we'll do. And the protective placement as well. If a person can't physically take care of himself, the judge may also order that person to be placed in a facility where they can receive the care they need. And the next one deals with children in need of protection and services. That's Whitney's primary area of responsibility, dealing with human services. If there's allegation of child abuse, for example, our office gets involved, human services gets involved. And the next bullet point, temporary physical custody, that also involves children, and it has a short statutory timeline where you have to go to court. If a child is removed from a parent's custody due to concerns for that child's safety, that parent has a right to go to court, and we have to present our case to the judge to justify why that child was removed from the parent's custody. And the last bullet point there, juvenile guardianships, that's just if a juvenile's parent is no longer able to make decisions for that juvenile, then we'll commence proceedings to order a guardian of that child to help make decisions, all dealing with the child's welfare. So those are some of the specific cases that I quantify. But if you take a look at the second page, which I'm not going to go over, it gives you a list of legal opinions and what my office has provided as far as legal support in 2021 and in 2020, and that's just a small sample of what my office does. So that really covers my annual report for today. I'm available to answer any questions if there are any.
For our attorney, Mr. Ward. Any questions? Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Next is finance, Mark DeVries.
Mr. Chair. One moment. I didn't have a handout prepared for you because, but I do have a presentation. If any of you want a copy of the presentation, I'd be happy to share that with you. Okay. Thanks for your patience. My name is Mark DeVries. I'm your finance director. And just for your information, the county finance department is responsible for, of course, all of the accounting and reporting for the county and the safeguarding of its assets, as well as making payments. So we are the one who gets the audit, the bulk of the audit every year, and you just heard the audit results. I think we're one of the few departments that actually has somebody come in from the outside every single year and go through everything they do and then issue a report on whether or not your results are accurate. And so we have to be accurate. But as a part of that, I just wanted to make this kind of fun today. You already heard the auditor's report about what we do. I'm going to introduce you to our staff, and this is both the finance and county clerk departments. And if you haven't been here during Halloween, I know we've got some new people here today. You should definitely come visit. We love to participate in Halloween every year. We all dress up, and I think we do a pretty good job. We even won some awards sometimes throughout the county. We have a contest and costume contest. And so this year, this was 2019, because in 2020, not everybody chose to dress up because of the COVID pandemic. So this was the most recent picture we have. And so we've got some people here that aren't here anymore. But everybody that you see here from the finance department is still here. And we've got county clerk too. I'm going to go in order of seniority, and so the first person I'd like to introduce you to tonight, her name is Cindy Distelman. She has been here for 28 years, and Cindy is our finance system specialist, and her primary job duties are to assist with board transactions, mostly board payroll, board expense processing. She helps with the farm drainage board. She also does a variety of month-end closing transactions for us and budget variance analysis, and we're getting her into some of the forecasting areas coming up soon. Cindy enjoys spending time with her grandchildren. She likes gardening and traveling and fishing. This picture here was taken at Whitefish Lake in Canada. That is probably the biggest northern pike I've ever seen. She did manage to keep that and eat it later on. Cindy's always eager to learn something new, and she's just a great person to have. She is, by the way, she's a 3/4 time. She's not a full FTE, so she's takes part of the week off usually to be with her kids or her sister. The next person I'd like to introduce you to is Jane Hinsman. Jane is primarily responsible for payroll processing. Jane is rock solid. You can tell that she loves her job because she's always the first person here. She's here usually at 7 o'clock in the morning or before, and she is great. She enjoys cooking and baking, and we enjoy that she enjoys that because she gets to share that with us, and we are the beneficiary of her hobbies. She's been to 42 of the 50 states. She is afraid of heights, but she did ride an aerial cable car once, so she wanted to point that out. She loves to snorkel. Her official title is accounting specialist too. This is Donna Miller. Donna has been with us for 17 years. Donna is primarily responsible for processing accounts payable, but she also does a lot with our insurance claims, processing insurance claims. She handles our P-card program. She approves purchases and purchasing requisitions and makes sure that those are in order before they come to the county administrator. And she loves jigsaw puzzles. She loves her daughter and visiting her family. She doesn't like to do yard work, but she does it anyway, and she loves the results. And Donna is a cancer survivor, for those of you that don't know, and she is a true warrior. I put on here true warrior because I don't really know many people that are stronger than Donna Miller. This is Tammy Warzala. Tammy has been here for 12 years. She joined the Army Reserve Band and at age 17. She is a licensed CPA. She's been a licensed CPA for about 20 years. She comes from a line of CPAs. Her grandfather was also a CPA. And for those of you that may not know, I don't know how many of you have seen Tammy, but she has a black belt in martial arts. I know a lot of people aren't aware of that, but we do get some shady characters sometimes in the clerk's office. So she's the person that we send up to the front when things get out of control to handle it. She is my right-hand person, and she is the real brains behind the finance department, and her title is Assistant Finance Director. And then there's this guy. I've been here for 4 years. I'm a trail runner. I love to run. I like to climb mountains. I love dogs. I'd have 100 dogs if I could, if my wife would let me. I am an amateur musician. I play guitar, keyboards, drums, although you probably don't want to hear me do that. I'm also a Lions fan. I'm wearing my Lions colors today, as you guys tell. I know you've grown, but you guys aren't looking like much of a threat this year either. And my title is Finance Director. And just to go over a few of the achievements that we've had over the past year, we did implement CARES, as Ben talked about a little bit earlier. And I just wanted to point out that and Tammy and Cindy were primarily responsible for handling the CARES Act funds. That money came down very quickly. And we had to spend it very quickly with some pretty rigid rules and some very onerous reporting requirements. And our initial allocation was about 1.4 million. We overclaimed and were able to actually get reimbursed for $150,000 more than that. So we got 1.55 million out of the CARES Act last year. The reason we were allowed to overclaim was because some governments didn't spend all the money that they got. And so we worked hard to make sure that we got more than our fair share. And then we also designed munis to accommodate those new statutes that came down as a result of the CARES Act. We implemented this concept at the beginning of the pandemic called financial first aid or fiscal first aid. And that was a response to what we thought was going to be a very tragic financial picture for the county. Ended up not to be that way at all. And if you look at the audit results that are online at that link that Tammy sent you this afternoon, you'll see we did wind up the year in a very strong financial position that's going to set us up well for the future. So it wasn't needed, but we definitely thought it was needed at the time. And I think we did a very good job as a county, as an organizational unit in our response to that. We received the Designated Budget Award and Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting for Government Finance Officers Association, and Jake alluded to that a little bit earlier. Those are prestigious awards. For those of you who don't know, they represent the highest reporting standards in the industry. And they're constantly changing. The budget award criteria changed this year, so we had to change our budget document, and we're still in the process of making some further revisions. But it's focusing more on strategic outcomes and how the budget is designed to achieve those outcomes. And the the CAFR, the audit report that you heard about tonight, that receives the Certificate of Achievements for Excellence in Financial Reporting. That means that we have some additional reporting standards that we have to implement in that document, and those are also constantly changing. So a lot of research and goes into that in preparation. GASB 84 is kind of a geeky technical term, but basically what that means is that we analyze the activities of the county to see what type of fiduciary responsibilities we have and then account for those. And so that means kind of breaking down our chart of accounts and looking at accounts that may represent some type of custodial fiduciary nature, and then segregating out and reporting those in accordance with the new standards. It wasn't an easy task, and we did that. We did that early, and we didn't get any recognition from Jake on that, but we did do that a year earlier than we had to. No audit findings or adjustments. I think we've heard that several times tonight. And finally, no missed payments or interruptions in service. And we did have some illnesses. We had some injuries in our office and in the clerk's office too. And I think this is worth pointing out because it is really, when you look at the way that the staff cooperates with each other and supports each other, it's really touching. There are no petty arguments in this office. Everybody helps each other out, and I could not honestly ask for a better staff, and that is why I'm making this presentation to you guys today. Our goals for 2021 and beyond, we do have a new version of Munis that we have to implement. They're going to discontinue the version that we're on. It seems like we just got done doing that. It's not going to cost us anything except time, but we are going to implement Munis version 2019. Implementing financial forecasting is something that we started doing already at the end of last year, and that was mostly in response to the COVID pandemic as well, to help us look out and see what the impact of our financial decisions are on a long-term basis. We're not quite finished with that yet. That is something that we plan to do this year. Update the budget document to reflect the new GFO guidance, something I just discussed. Improve capital planning and reporting, and one of the things that we need to do this, and there's a big decision that we're going to make tonight, and that's going to help us, no matter what the outcome of that is. It is going to help us with planning our long-term capital needs. And continue to align the budget with strategic outcomes, and working with Ben's office to do so has always been a goal of ours, and I think we get a little bit at that every year. Implementing ARPA, another resolution that you're going to be voting on tonight, that will affect our office and very significantly, because it is a lot of money. There are a lot of reporting requirements and accounting requirements that are going to go along with that, as well as compliance requirements, and we're going to have to keep it all straight in order to get another clean opinion next year. GASB 87 is a standard that deals with leases. We are going to have to bring leases into the financial statements, whereas they were just disclosed in the footnotes previously. That means accumulating all of our leases and going through them and making sure that we have properly recorded the liabilities and assets on the financial statements that are associated with those. And then finally, continue to enhance the county purchasing program. And what that means is just looking for new programs, and we got a couple of them that we're going to introduce in the department head meeting tomorrow. One is called Amazon Business Prime, and another has to do with Anvia, which is kind of a cooperative purchasing program that we can participate in. So we're always looking to continuously improve in our office. Like I said so many times, I think the staff is the key to that. They are just amazing, outstanding people. And now that you've gotten to know them a little bit, I would encourage you to stop down and introduce yourselves to them, and tell them what a great job that they're doing. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Don't run yet. You may have questions here. We have questions for Mark. I have one. How long have you been a Lions fan?
All my life. I'm from Michigan, so.
Oh man, what was the last championship game? It was 57. Was Laney's quarterback, and he played 55 years ago. You're that special person. Thank you. Human services. Call it.
Mr. Chair. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all. It really is. So I am a Packer fan. I want you to know that right out of the gate. It's an honor to present to you tonight the 2020 Human Services Department Annual Report. As you well know, 2020 was a very different year. We all learned new skills. We transformed every service we provide. We practiced a new vocabulary that included words such as unprecedented and phrases such as you're frozen and we can't hear you. The COVID-19 pandemic affected our department and the people we serve in a myriad of ways. We transformed mental health and substance use services to a telehealth platform. Nutrition meal sites had to be closed, resulting in frozen and fresh meals having to be delivered. We had to close and reopen a preschool. Supervised visits had to occur at least for a time, and staff in PPE and outside or in a virtual manner. Vehicles and transportation services had to be adapted to prevent the spread of the virus. And really at every turn, policy and procedure had to be developed and implemented. I'm very gratified to be able to tell you that we navigated all these challenges and many others successfully. All services retained, and interesting enough, some services even increased and became more efficient. We were very fortunate to have great assistance from our county departments and county leadership, and I just really want to humbly thank Ben and Terry Palm, Gail Scott, John Regath, and Mark DeVries. It really took a team to pull this off. And then switching gears, I can't introduce you to 200 some employees tonight. But I do want to tell you a little bit about each of our 5 divisions and then share some information about what we are doing this year. Our administration division completes all the fiscal duties for the department, including the budget, contracts, billing, payroll, maintenance duties, vehicles, and capital projects. I want you to know that thanks to your support, our grounds and buildings look better than ever. Our capital projects are coming in on budget and on time. And while I was going to prepare for you a summary of our 393 fiscal reports, I think it is, for that the administration division completes, my better self told me, no, just please come and visit, and we'd be happy to discuss any of those with you. And of course, you just heard the great audit reviews, so thank you, Mark. Our Economic Support Division is located at the Workforce Development Center, where we work closely with state and local partners. Our economic support staff process Medicaid, food share, and child care benefits through a call center consortium. We participate in the Southern Economic Support Consortium, which includes Crawford, Grant, Greene, Iowa, Lafayette, and Rock counties. The key task of the consortium this year is to continue to meet the state performance standards for operating the call center that determines eligibility for these benefits. The division is very hard hit by retirements this year. Jill Johnson, the division manager, after 39 years, retires this month. The economic support supervisor, after 45 years, retired last week, as well as 2 lead workers and an economic support worker. So a total of 171 years of expertise is moving on this month. The Behavioral Health Division continues to address the needs of the community in a multiple of ways. Over last year, we were able to expand mental health and substance use services by providing services through telehealth. This actually led to increased access. It reduced the number of canceled appointments and increased revenue. We also work closely with all our school districts. We have mental health professionals in the schools to help identify the earliest signs of mental health symptoms and provide consultation. We are partnering with them to bring a socially emotional curriculum to all students in all school districts. We want to provide this kind of consultation and learning and training for the schools because we know the impact of trauma on developing brains and what tools and skills are critical at every junction. We know this, we believe this because prevention and early intervention are so key, and if we can solve a problem early on, we reduce misery and suffering and decrease the cost of treatment later on. This is particularly crucial at this time because we are really seeing an increase in the number of youth with depression and anxiety. We also continue to see a high number of people impacted by opioids and continue to offer treatment for these addictions. We're seeing an increase in the number of people who are homeless. And lastly, I just want to mention the Behavioral Health Division partners very successfully with our treatment courts, where we provide the majority of treatment for the participants. Switching gears, the Child and Family Division is overseen by our Deputy Director, Brent Riedel, who's here this evening. The division continues to provide a wide array of programs from birth to 3, child welfare, youth justice, and children's long-term support waivers. The trends in 2021 that the division is seeing are an increase in truancy referrals, an increase in environmental exposure to in-home drug use, where children are testing positive for drugs, namely heroin and fentanyl, and correspondingly an increase in fentanyl use and cocaine use. We're also seeing an increase in parents driving under the influence with children in their vehicles, an increase in the number of children who need children's long-term supports, which is partly due to the state now manages the wait list and there is not a cap for counties. We're also seeing an increase in referrals for medically complex children and an increase in referrals to our Birth to 3 program. But finally, let's talk about our Aging and ADRC division. So from time to time, we put together materials in different formats to explain our work. And each of us did a video this year. So I would like to share the Aging and ADRC division, the first, but not to be annual, film clip with you. It's coming. There we go. All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that, but hopefully you also learned that the number of people over the age of 60 in Jefferson County is increasing. We're seeing an increase in the number of ride requests and an increase in the need for the Aging and Disability Resource Center services. So I just want to close with, in this year, like no other, I really abundantly thank all of you, our county board supervisors, our human service board, our county administrator for your continuing support and guidance. I just really offer the utmost gratitude to every employee and all of you for your resiliency, commitment, and benevolence. And I always welcome your questions and your feedback. And of course, we have 148 pages for you to review. Yes.
Any questions? Any questions? I was waiting for the next program. Any questions, Kathy? Oh, Phil.
Not so much question, but I want to thank Kathy and her staff for the job that you all do in very, very tough circumstances. I think I've mentioned to this board before, I think it was in the 80s, I hosted, I think, a half dozen foster kids and worked with the Human Services Department. Of those 6 boys, 2 of them are dead already. One is only alive because his suicide attempt failed. And what Kathy and her department go through on a daily basis, when you get involved like that, you see it. And I couldn't do it. I would be so depressed. I couldn't do it. I want to thank you and your staff for what you're doing. You may have the toughest assignment of anybody in our county.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. I will take that back and share that. It means a lot.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much, Ms. Colley. Brings us to item number 11, Buildings and Grounds Committee. Supervisor Payne.
Thank you. Resolution number 2021-1010, authorizing county courthouse, sheriff's office, and jail renovation project. Over the last several years, Jefferson County has continued to evaluate the conditions of county facilities to ensure that its long-term operational needs are being addressed. This has included the courthouse, sheriff's office, jail, which is the courthouse facility, highway facilities, and South Campus operations primarily focused on health and human services operations. During the evaluation process, it was determined that the courthouse facility is most in need of renovation and upgrades. The courthouse was built in various phases starting in 1961, with additions in 1966 and 1991. Today, much of the courthouse is original construction with original equipment. As a result, there has been an increasing failure rate related to mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. Most of these systems have significantly exceeded their life expectancy and are either continually in need of repair or are likely to need repairs in the near future. Further, the courthouse does not meet current building codes, provide for basic life safety measures, or the Americans with Disability Act requirements. In reviewing how to address the future needs of the courthouse facility, a determination was made to review courthouse operations in addition to mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. This includes life safety and security needs, information technology needs, general operation needs, and compliance with current codes and regulations such as the Department of Corrections, Supreme Court rules, Americans with Disability Act, and various other applicable building codes. In 2019, the Buildings and Grounds Committee interviewed consultants to evaluate the operational needs of the courthouse. Potter Lawson and Partners were selected as the design team and approved by the county board. During 2020, Potter Lawson's review of the courthouse facility consisted of reviewing mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems and advising of code deficiency, security needs, technology needs, and necessary upgrades to meet the future demands of courthouse operations. This process included input from county staff and elected officials. In October of 2020, after presentations to the Building and Ground Committee, a report was presented to the county board. This report included a mechanical, electrical, and plumbing system analysis and a new space configuration to include 3 primary additions to the courthouse facility. The total project cost at that time was estimated at $33 million, with $17 million to replace the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. Financing options were presented to the board and included discussion that interest was at historically low rates. On February 19, 2021, a joint meeting of the Executive Committee, Finance Committee, and Buildings and Grounds Committee determined it was appropriate to continue to evaluate the courthouse facility renovations project, and also determined that additional design services were needed to finalize the scope of the project. On March 9, 2021, The county board approved the recommendation by a 27-1 vote. After this county board action, Potter Lawson continued to review and further define the scope of the courthouse facility renovation project by reviewing space needs with staff and conducting additional analysis of mechanical, plumbing, and electrical plans to include updated cost estimates. The results of these additional efforts were presented to the county board on May 11, 2021. This included an updated project cost estimate of approximately $35 million. Now therefore be resolved that the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the courthouse facility renovation project as presented with funding for this project requiring additional action by the county board at a later date. Be it further resolved that the county administrator is directed to start the next phase of design services, procure construction management services, procure owner's representation services, and develop a more defined financial model for this project. Fiscal note. Funds for the total project will be provided through current cash available and debt issued by the county over 3 years. The project is estimated to cost $35 million. At the time it becomes necessary to issue debt for this project, a 3/4 vote of the full Board of Supervisors will be required to authorize the debt issuance. I move for approval of this resolution.
Second. Second. Second.
Is this the same number we were given at the last meeting? Exactly the same.
35 million?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Other. Vice Macklin.
I just want to go on to say that I am voting for it and recommending. We've had major discussions. Everything's been thought out. I think we've looked at everything. You know, if you just do mechanicals, you're going to rip into walls. And then if you decide down the road, you still need the expansion, you're going to have to tear back into them walls again to restructure, and your costs are going to go up. There were several projects we looked at where the other county municipalities, et cetera, where they didn't, and they went back 5 years later, and the cost was double for that second half. So, you know, getting it all done at once, it's done. You're not interrupting all of the county workers by displacing them for the first phase, basically the mechanicals, and then if we decide we didn't upgrade or whatever, I just think that we're not thinking far enough in the future. We have looked at all space requirements, and by doing how it's laid out in the plan, space is cross-utilized. We're making dual purpose for things, you know, splitting things in like even this room would change and there'd be extra meeting rooms. It's not like everyone's getting a big lavish office. They're just, again, the majority of it is bringing things up to code where they need to be. And there's certain things within the court system that's required by the Supreme Court, and within the jail cells, the DOJ also has so there are requirements that we have to do to bring the facility up. It just, to me, it makes sense to be one and done and not drag it out over 20 years and then wishing we had done it now, because the costs, I don't see costs going down anytime soon. And so I just think it's important that we, as a board, move forward with this. Thank you.
Let's invite questions, comments. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say a few words, and partly I want to say these, make these comments so that my constituents understand the process that I went through to get to the decision that I intend to make. When I first saw the number that we all saw, you know, it's an eye-popping number, and I was pretty skeptical and concerned about it. So I decided to dig in, and Ben Waymeyer asked us to, you know, go attend the tours of the building and really take a look at it. So I did. I attended those. I attended a number of Building and Grounds Committee meetings on Zoom and the presentations that the consultants gave. And I was mostly relieved of my skepticism but mainly because I realized, although I have some expertise in a couple areas that are pretty narrow, they don't overlap into this kind of a project. And so I looked to see what people I trust who are experts and knowledgeable, what they were thinking. And so the upper management here in the courthouse and others who have expertise in building construction and design and so on, people that I talked to convinced me that this is a worthwhile project, that the scope was correct and the need was there, and that the cost was in line. That's what I understand. And so I have to rely on people that I trust, so I'm going to go ahead and support this project with a yes vote later if it's unchanged. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Christensen. I was on a tour with Supervisor Christensen, and if you ever like somebody explained that ancient diesel engine down at the other end of in the sheriff's department, Walt's an expert on it. At least that was for me that night.
I just want everyone to understand that we've been working with Potter Lawson for about a year now in our committee meetings. They've done a great job presenting to us their thought processes, the process they've gone through with all of the staff, what their needs are, their projections for the future, and really, as Kurt had said, Supervisor Backlund, that there is the way it's planned out is to have multiple uses for areas. So it isn't just one use. This building, this room would be used for multiple purposes, not just the boardroom, because there'll be a divider. Down in the court, in the county clerk's office, there will be a desk that the public can come up to and utilize multiple departments in one area. Different departments will be moved around because they work closely together, and that will increase the efficiency of our departments. And one of the things that I feel is really key is our security. And it's not just about security at the front of the building. It's not just adding sprinkler systems, which we don't have now, and upgrading things where we do have fires sometimes. That the security is with our court systems. Potter Lawson really pointed out on a regular basis how they designed the court system so that the public would be coming in to the front. There would be a desk and different conference rooms available that the public would access. Our staff would be behind those conference rooms. So the public and the staff do not need to meet except in those conference rooms. And this is really important because in the family courts and other court systems, emotions run high, and things could happen. So it really helps with the safety of our staff. And so those are some of the items that we discussed on a regular basis. Like I said, Potter Lawson did just a great job with laying this out, presenting it to us. And for those reasons, I think it's very important that we move forward with this. I think it's a really great job. We need to start being more proactive and not reactive with our mechanicals. They're failing on a regular basis. Some of them are past their life expectancy. And to do this all at once is really the most efficient way to go, the most financially responsible way to go. And so I hope that you will vote yes to move this forward. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Supervisor David, your hand up first.
Thank you. I won't be voting for this. I still feel that the world is in too great a state of flux, and that we are preparing for the wrong thing. It's kind of like driving your car by looking in the rear view mirror. Building a building by projection of need is like driving, looking in your rear view mirror. It's great unless there's a curve ahead, and we have some doozies coming up, and so I'll be voting against this.
Supervisor Kennard?
Yeah, I just my main concern is the cost of this, I guess. But as we get going down the design trail, the data they're using to design stuff is in the rearview mirror. That's what we're using. With the pandemic and stuff, I think you're going to find that you need the article from Mr. Kane here. He talks about flexible, non-traditional working environments, greater separation, limit the number of participants, workstations sufficiently large to provide social distancing, greater use of private offices. I think in 5 years you might design a whole different type of work environment. So the work environment we designed last year might not work, in 5 years. And that's my concern is that. I do agree we need to, take care of the building and make the mechanicals work and the stuff in the jail and the sheriff's department. The sheriff's has been having people in closets down there for years. I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was closets being made into offices. I think the bigger need would be down at the south end of the courthouse there with the courts and the sheriff and the clerk and all of that down there. But go take this under the whole courthouse at one time would really be a disruption. I guess we'd be living in all the offices would be in trailers around the courthouse. I guess I don't know how this would work, but I think a phased approach would probably be a little better.
Yeah, I just want to speak. It would be a phased approach. There would not be trailers. The intent would be the west addition would be put on, and that would be IT down below in the courthouses, and then you would just be kind of shifting into that space. So people would be moving as offices were done, but there would not be. I'm not going to say there wouldn't be any trailer spaces, but I think that would be minimized. And again, I agree. A lot of the work on this plan is down at that end of the building. We did not break down the exact what the main part of the courthouse or this area where we're in versus that, but the main cost is going down into that area of it.
Anyone else? Supervisor Jones?
On your desk was passed out today a report from Allers here, our financial advisor. And the finance committee has obviously discussed this quite a bit too over the last 2 years now. And financially, we feel with interest rates what they are and what they're predicted to hold, that this would be a positive thing. But instead of hearing it from me, we have a Mr. Joe Murray here who represents elders here tonight on Zoom. And I'd like to invite him to address the group and answer any questions you have.
Anybody object? Please.
Good evening. I'm Joe Murray from Ellers. Proud to be the county's financial advisor. As you were getting prepared for your consideration tonight, we were asked to evaluate developing a financial plan to how the county could finance the project for the courthouse, the sheriff's office, and the jail renovation project. We were asked to look at $32 million project funds, as well as a $35 million project funds. We developed a plan a little different than was noted in the staff report. Right now we're presenting it as a 4-year borrowing plan because we're trying to maintain bank qualification. That means the county can only issue up to $10 million in any calendar year. Right now, the market for non-bank qualified is costing about 40 basis points or 0.4% higher on the longer term interest rates. So we think it's better to try to maintain that bank qualification. That bank qualification Rates change every time, and we'll evaluate it every year as the county needs its flow of funds. But right now, we've developed a plan to do it over 4 years. The plan would be to do an issue this year and then another each year in time for your annual budget. We are projecting, based on all the models, that the tax increase, instead of it being 22 cents, that should have been 24 cents. I apologize for that. But here's a summary that if you need $32 million in project funds, that means a total issuance of $32,785,000. The total projected debt service, that's principal and interest, to do that over all 4 issues over the next, those would be all 20-year issues, would be just over $41 million. The tax increase from 2021 to 2022, based on a $250,000 equalized value, would be an increase of $64.80. The total cost, that's a $250,000 house for a $32 million project, is $1,096,000. If you were to do the 35, the larger project, the total borrowing increases to $35.8 million. Total debt service goes to 46.4 approximately. We've structured it for the same tax increase in 2022. I believe you've heard me say the plan was, the way it was structured was that you would swallow the tax pill with the big increase in 2022 and hold that level moving forward as opposed to multiple increases. We could change the structuring, but that's the way this is structured right now. And the cost to borrow $35 million in project funds would, that $250,000 home would be $1,220,000. So the difference between the two project amounts is relatively small, roughly $130. I don't know if you'd like me to get into the individual schedules. I'd be happy to. I don't know if the board can see this. This is the structure or the sizing to borrow $32 million. As I said, this is done over a 4-year borrowing. It would be a borrowing of $5.8 million this year. That would cover your engineering, planning, and soft costs, as well as provide a little bit of funding to start if you move in construction in 2022. Another borrowing, 22 for $10 million. Third borrowing for $10 million in 2023, again maintaining bank qualification, and then getting the balance in 2024 when we expect rates are going to continue to rise. We have built in rate increases for each year. You'll see that we have plugged in for this plan that there would be an increase of roughly 7.7% in 2022, another 50 basis or 45 basis point increase in 2023, and then another 45 basis increase in 2024. So we are trying to provide you with a conservative estimate. We are at near historic lows. How long they will continue, we cannot say. But we have tried to project, not with a rosy outlook, that it would stay the same. We are projecting that they would go up. And as you'll see in the blue column towards the right-hand side, your debt tax rate right now is 21 cents per $1,000. Increase from 21.22 would be a 24% increase. If you could move over just a little bit to the right, then yeah, there you go. That is the total increase in your debt service. Is that column at the right, the total debt tax impact. And the one in the peach, it just shows the increase associated with just financing this project. So the debt tax rate would go up. As I said, you'd swallow the tax pill one time in 2022. It stays relatively level out to 2028, and then it starts to trend downward. That would provide you that additional capital financing project, etc. If you could go to the next page, please, Ben. This is just the sizing of the $35 million. It's very similar. Again, we would borrow that same $5.8 million this year in 2021. And the last year borrowing would take up the difference, and you would have three $10 million borrowings to, again, maintain the bank qualification. And the total borrowings would be that $35.8 million to finance the total project. The interest rate assumptions are the same. It's just a matter that we are borrowing more money. The first 3-year issues are all the same. The only difference is we've tacked on the additional $3 million for additional project funds and the 2024 borrowing. As I said, we will evaluate market conditions, cash flow needs. This may change. It may be beneficial to bank qualification changes again. It may be better to blow bank qualification for one of the middle years and do it in 3 issues. But that's all going to be dependent on market conditions, and we'll evaluate that each year as we go through the process. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Joe, just for clarification, this number down here is the total on an average $250,000 home over about roughly a 23-year debt payment schedule, correct? That $1,220.
Yeah, that totals that whole column. So they're paying roughly between $60, starting at $64, and it drops off as it goes off. So the total payment, the sum of that column, is the $1,220. That's total P&I. And that is for all 4 of the planned issues, not just one. That's for the whole $35 million.
Mark, Ben covered what I wanted to say. Thanks. Any other questions? Yeah. Vice Brogler.
What constitutes the difference between the 32 million and the 35 million? What is the $3 million of the project not being done?
So last month we introduced it, we talked about an example of a potential project scope reduction. And so that 3 million was used as an example of that addition on the north wing for the administration and land office. So that value is roughly $3 million. So that was used as an example to show the difference.
Any other questions? Any questions? Roll call vote.
Which one are we voting for? The 35 million?
Oh. I want to clarify that one. I think it's not quite clear. Yes, I believe it's 35.
30 it is. I see it now in the financial.
Okay. The financial is 35. Yeah. Yeah.
So just to clarify a couple things for tonight. So the proposal is basically say we're moving forward with the project as presented. What that is not doing tonight is saying we are issuing debt tonight. That is a future vote the board will consider. We are not contracting for specific services tonight. That is charged in here that we move forward as the next phase of this process is that we will be doing a process for contracting for services. Part of the reason I believe the Buildings and Grounds Committee asked to move this forward is because the next phase of this is we're really starting to spend additional dollars. And I think that's why we want to make sure the board and the public are comfortable that we're heading in these directions, or maybe not heading in this direction. So we're just not, are we going to do it or not? And so I think that's part of the reason it is. So I just want to make it clear, this is basically saying we're moving forward, but there are still a lot of county board actions that will take place after tonight. This is just a signal that you're comfortable enough with where we're heading that we can go forward, start looking at how we're going to handle design to architectural services, looking at owner's representation, looking at construction management, doing more engagement with Joe Murray and his team about the financing packages, maybe look at some alternative revenue streams that might reduce those costs down the line if that's practicable. That's what we're looking at. So tonight, though, to make it clear, we're not walking out here that you just issued $35 million debt. That is not what the vote is tonight, just to make sure clear.
Any questions? Questions? Right, come on.
If we vote for this, we're starting down the trail, and we've been going down the trail already for a year or more. Mm-hmm. So the more votes we have, the further down the trail, the harder it is to come back. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Essentially it, yes. Anyone else? That'll be a roll call vote then. Let us know, Madam Clerk, when we're ready. Okay. Supervisor White. Supervisor White, I believe yours is the only one that hasn't registered yet.
Mr. Chair, I don't have an option available on my tablet to vote. I guess if I have to do it orally, I'll do it that way, but there's nothing on here giving me the option.
Okay. There's a little bit of gyration that's going on in front of me right here, Supervisor White, and we'll see if we come up with anything. No luck. And so, wait, we'll have to orally. Supervisor White?
I'm sorry, you're choppy. My vote is yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. It will be recorded for you then.
We have 27 yes, 2 no, and 1 absent.
Thank you, Madam. Madam Clerk. Item 12, Supervisor Bernard.
Resolution number 2021-11. The American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 was signed into law in the first quarter of 2021 as an additional round of stimulus to assist in the economic recovery from COVID-19 and its related impacts. This act provides local governments with funds to assist in their recovery efforts, both as an organization and within their communities. Jefferson County will receive a direct allocation from the federal government of approximately $16.4 million. Cities, villages, and towns located in Jefferson County will also be receiving funds under this act. Payments will be reimbursed in 2 installments in 2021 and 2022, with funds needing to be utilized by the end of 2024. 4 broad categories of use of these funds were established in the Act, which include recovery, assistance for essential personnel, revenue preservation, and infrastructure. The Department of Treasury has been tasked with developing regulatory guidance to further define the use of these funds. With this generational infusion of dollars, it is important to establish procedures and policies for use of these funds to help ensure comprehensive and efficient planning efforts combined with established fiscal and budgetary practices and policies. And you can see there all the procedures and policies being proposed for the implementation of the American Rescue Plan Act. They're A to E. Fiscal note. It is estimated that Jefferson County will receive approximately $16.4 million in American Rescue Plan Act funding. The use of these funds and related fiscal impacts will be determined through the process established by this resolution. A budget adjustment for the administration and use of the American Rescue Plan funding will be presented to the Board of Supervisors by the Joint Executive and Finance Committees once the use of these funds has been determined. No budget adjustment is currently necessary. I move for approval of this resolution.
Second. Second. Second, Supervisor Brockler. Discussions, questions? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Supervisor White?
Yes.
And it is
29 yes, 0 no, 1 absent.
Thank you. And item 13, Planning and Zoning Committee, Supervisor Jacob.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Report to the honorable members of the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors. The Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee, having considered petitions to amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County, filed for public hearing held on May 20th, 2021, as required by law pursuant to Wisconsin statutes. Notice thereof having been given and being duly advised by the wishes of the town boards and persons in the areas affected, hereby makes the following recommendations. Approval of the petitions as listed, dated this first day of June 2021, Blaine Paulson, Secretary. And on to the ordinance number 2021 4, amending Jefferson County, amending official zoning map. Whereas the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors has heretofore been petitioned to amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County, and whereas petitions as listed were referred for public hearing on May 20th of 2021, and whereas proposed amendments have been given due consideration by the Board of Supervisors in open session, now therefore be it ordained that Jefferson County Board of Supervisors does amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County as follows. I move for a passage of this ordinance.
Second. Questions?
I will abstain for potential conflict of interest.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions? Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Do we have it online? All right. That takes us to comment of a general nature. Do we have any? Then it comes to announcements. I have one announcement. I want to invite you all to my district on June 24th for Brew with a View. Please come to visit us at Park Park in Lake Mills. Any other announcements?
Just a reminder, if you haven't signed in the sheets for being here tonight, please do so.
And thank you. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Thank you all. And stay cool.
Yes. I agree.